In the diagram, B is due north of A. C is east of B. And AB is equal to AC. What is the bearing of A from C? Alright, let us investigate. So they tell us that, let me just take these markers or choose my markers, right? So they tell us that, what they tell us here? B is due north of A, right? And we see that on the line there. We have the arrow there. C is east of B. What does that mean? C is east of B tells us immediately that this is a right angle. That is the whole purpose of saying that. In other words, you say something without saying it. So they didn't say, well, BC is perpendicular to BN. No, they didn't have to say that. All they need to say is that C is due east of B, and if this is north and then this is east, then this has to be 90 degrees. And if that is 90 degrees, then this also is 90 degrees. Right? Because if all this here is 90, then this remaining here has to be 90 because the angle at that point on our line is equal to 180 degrees. That's a 180 there. So we know immediately that triangle ABC is a right angle triangle. Right? B, A, and C. So in other words, you could either visualize this in your head or, if necessary, take it out as a separate entity if you need clearer visualization. AB is equal to BC, as denoted by this pair of lines here. This double line here and this double line tells us that this is equal to this. Which is to say then that if this angle is 90 degrees and this line is equal to this line, that means that this angle is equal to this angle, which is to say we have an isosceles triangle because we have two of the angles equal to each other. But not only do we have an isosceles triangle, we have a very special type of isosceles triangle. We have what we refer to as the right isosceles triangle, which is to say we have an isosceles triangle which is also a right angle triangle. Now, if that is the case, the right angle is 90 degrees. So, what is the value of each of these two? Then if this is 90, then the sum of these two has to be 90 as well. 90 and 90 is 180. And if these two angles are equal, then 90 divided by 2 is our good friend 45. Alright. Which is to say then that in the context of our diagram here, that this angle is 45 degrees and this angle here is also 45 degrees. Now, the question asked for the bearing of the bearing of A from C. Alright? So if we want to get A from C, it means that we're starting at C. And if we're starting at C and we're talking bearings, that's a north line there. We know that with bearings, the angles are always measured from north, and they're always measured in a clockwise direction. So basically what we're looking for is that angle there. The bearing of A from C is this whole angle here. We know that from here to here is 180. So we have 180 degrees covered already. If from here to here is 180, right? Now, did they say, well, they didn't really say, it's looking squarish, but it's not a square, so we're not going to assume that. Alright? Let us see. Well, right, yes, look at it. So in other words, you see, because this line is facing north, is pointing north, sorry, and if we're talking bearings from C, it means that this line is also trending north. Right? So we're talking about a whole 180 here. And if this line is parallel to this line, then we know from the consideration of alternate angles that this angle here, this 45 here, will be the same as this angle here. Alright? So that's your 180 there. This will be equal to this. So in other words, your bearing will now be 180 here plus 45 here. So 180 plus 45 is equal to 225 degrees. And this is the type of question that you very frequently find in section 2. And question, well, in this new syllabus, it will be question 9, right? Your geometry and your trigonometry, right? Very often you get some variation of this, where you have a bearing and some tongue is due east of another tongue, and another tongue is on a bearing of how much of a degrees from another tongue, and yeah, that kind of thing. All right, and that's why I keep saying, for the purpose of these videos, that even though we're preparing for the multiple choice test, we're killing two birds with one stone by discussing each question in a particular way that will allow you now to take recognition of the principles and then apply it in a question 2 context. All right, so I hope that you would have picked up something of that nature in this question. Of course, I always encourage people to practice as much as they could. So in this case, the answer for this question is answer D, 225 degrees.